All right, we're good.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our first meeting of 2022, the regular January meeting. Thanks for making it virtual tonight. It's a cold night, a good one to stay at home, and I'm glad to see everybody here. So thank you very much. We'll call our meeting to order at 6:06. The first item on our agenda is public comments. Ginger, do we have anyone waiting to come in?
No, there's no one waiting to come in and no public in the room.
Okay. All right. Well, we do always love to have public comment and always want to encourage it, but understand that doesn't always work out. Hold on one moment. Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 7th. I assume everyone got their packets.
Yes, I was on mute.
So when you're ready, we'll be looking for a motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of December 2021.
Is there a
as
second?
Submitted. Second.
I can second that.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we're going to move on to correspondence. I did get some correspondence that I wanted to share today. I received a letter from our own Gordon Anderson. She said, and I'll just read you a couple of excerpts from her letter. It said, "I've loved so much being part of the board. It is with great difficulty that I offer my resignation effective immediately." She said, "I cannot be the board member that you all need, and I owe it to you and to the town of Norfolk and Botel School a level of excellence. With great regret, best wishes, and tremendous gratitude, Gordon." I hate to say goodbye to Gordon. She was such a wonderful board member and is such a wonderful person. I really very, very much appreciated the time that she spent here on the board, but understand that, you know, life happens and stuff gets in the way, and absolutely support her decision, and just want to say again publicly, thank you very, very, very much for all the efforts and wisdom and thoughtful participation she's given to the board. With that in mind, that means that we have a vacancy on our board. We, as a board, have the authority to appoint a replacement, but we do need to do it in a time-efficient manner. What I would like to do is to have everyone kind of give some thought to who they think would be a good candidate or a good replacement to fill that vacancy, and to send me an email. Please send it just to me, as many of you know, but maybe our new board members might not realize, we can't do any board business over email. We can't have discussions over email. So we can't engage in back and forth, and we can't include everyone on discussions, but you can send information back and forth. So if you could please send to me, any thoughts you have on who might be a good replacement, or I shouldn't say replacement, a good person to fill that vacancy, I'd appreciate it. Janet, you mentioned that you were having some trouble with your email address.
It's just me personally. It's my computer, not anything.
Okay.
I need a new laptop.
Well, just check in with Kathy to make sure that it's working, because I do tend to send only to the Botel School email address. I feel like I have a bunch of email addresses myself, and it helps me to stay organized if I keep the things in our separate buckets. So although I may text you and say, please go check your Botel email address, I'll try to send stuff to the Botel email address just to help us keep it all straight. Also, any correspondence that goes to that address is FOIable. It's something that people could request to see. So I feel like it's a good way to kind of keep a little separation of personal stuff and school stuff. So okay.
But yeah, I'll try to see if I could set that up on my, I'm pretty sure I can set up on my iPad. I try to keep everything on my laptop kind of in one spot.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I will.
It's a Gmail based account.
On your phone too, if you need, Janet. if that helps.
Oh, on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just also to clarify, Gordon would have that slot position is there's 2 years left to serve or 1?
Let's see. When did she come in? When
I came in,
okay, so you have 2 years left?
I've been on for 2, right? I've been on for 2
Yes.
years. So I have
Yes.
2 years left.
2
Yes.
years left. Okay.
Okay.
Mary Beth says 2 years too. So yeah,
So
so it'll
just
be
if
a
we're
2 year.
considering people, you can say to them, it's only for 2 years. You don't have to run again.
It's a
You know.
half term. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And I know sometimes there's concern about minority representation on our board. That is something that we have to be aware of. But since we have 2 Republican elected members, we really can have any other. It doesn't matter what party affiliation the person is who fills the vacancy. So we have a lot of
3
flexibility.
Republican. Not to interrupt you.
Do we?
You, Janet, and Donna.
Oh, Donna, there you go. So we have more than 2.
Yeah.
So perfect. Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't think that Donna ran as a Republican, did she?
Yeah, she
Yes,
did.
She did.
She did? Okay. Oh,
I believe
great.
she did. Yeah. Well, she's on the
Okay.
roster as that.
Right.
Okay. Oh, it was previous term that she was endorsed by both parties, but okay.
Okay. Great. Okay. So give that some thought and send me an email. I also wanted to
When's
I'm
the
sorry,
next
go
shared
ahead.
service? When is the next shared services meeting?
that is
3rd
the
Monday.
3rd Monday. Would you like to attend that, John, in Gordon's absence? Or maybe that's impossible for you because you're in class then.
Correct.
Mary Beth, are the shared services meetings virtual or are they in person?
I believe they're in person. I can confirm that for you tomorrow.
Okay. If we miss one, I think that'll be all right. We went like years missing a lot of them. So I think that it'll be okay, even if we're not able to get a replacement by that time.
If not,
But if
I can
anyone is
ask
free at
Quentin.
5 p.m. on a Monday, on the 3rd Monday, and available to go to that meeting, that's great too. Where is that meeting?
I believe it's over at Region 7 campus, but I will let Quentin know that Gordon has resigned and ask him to forward any notes from that meeting if we can't get a replacement. Yes,
We can,
Kathy?
they send the minutes to me
Oh, okay.
every month, so we get the
If
minutes.
it's at 5 and if it's at Region 7, I could probably make it because I have class till 4, but it doesn't always go till 4, and Region 7's on the way back home.
But then don't you have the fire department at like 6 on Mondays?
6:30. I think they're pretty short meetings from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like Gordon said they were very efficient.
Efficient.
So if it works out, that's great, John. If it doesn't work out and we go with Kathy's minutes, that's great too.
Okay.
But thank you
I'm
for being
also
available.
on that Monday too, John, if you can't make it.
Oh, well, sure.
Oh,
I
Just
don't
let me
wanna-
know.
Well, I will confirm the meeting place and send you that information to both of you, and then you can just fight over who's going to go.
well,
Perfect.
Janet, if you're interested in being our shared service liaison, that would be shared services liaison. That would be really great. John already does one of those actually, and you'll probably take on the Board of Finance one too. So John's already kind of busy on those extra meeting lines. They meet regularly on the 3rd Monday at 5 o'clock. And I do think that they're pretty efficient meeting. I know Gordon really seemed to enjoy going to them. It'd be great if you were willing to take that on.
What is just like cliff notes of the shared service meetings? What are they?
Well, so shared services is like, well, maybe actually, Mary Beth, maybe you could give a better synopsis than I could. And I'm gonna then just put myself on mute while I yell at the puppies who are whining. So
So all of the Region 7 and the feeder schools all is a cohort. We belong to shared services, and Quentin is the director, and they provide special ed services for the whole entire region. including our Bridges program, where we all send students, we all participate in their preschool programs, and we work closely as to hire and staff our schools with special ed teachers and paras. So once a month, Quentin has a meeting and shares out news for of the district news, and the liaison from each board can then bring back any pertinent information to their board meetings. They're usually about 15 to 20 minutes long. And as several people have indicated, he's very efficient. It's a, not a huge commitment. It is the once a month meeting.
Yeah, I could do that.
Great.
They also
Thank you
provide
so-
our cafeteria services.
As far as their food.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you
always
very
important.
much for doing that. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. And Kathy, if you wouldn't mind updating that on our little green paper, I'd appreciate it.
And I will let Quentin know that you are going to replace Gordon as the rep from Norfolk.
And everyone's okay with that? John?
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay. I didn't want to jump in your seat.
Okay, so
Totally
next,
fine.
moving on to the superintendent's report.
Mute myself. Well, it's been a quiet December, January. Although out and about in the community, I'm sure you're aware that, the COVID numbers across the state and the country are trending significantly high. However, Canaan and Norfolk are the only two towns in the entire Litchfield County district that are still not in the red. So Norfolk is doing some really right things, and hopefully, it stays that way. We've had limited cases at Botel. We currently have a staff member and 2 students who are out, but there was no connection to school. So in that way, we're doing exceptionally well. The CDC has come out with brand new revised guidelines, and we're in the process of digesting those and understanding those together with the State Department of Education and the Department of Public Health. And I'll be sending a letter out to families, and you will be certainly copied tomorrow on the impact of those changes on Botel. Basically, they are eliminating contact tracing as we have been doing, and moving to more of a notification of exposure model. And they're shortening the quarantine period to a 5-day period for students and for staff. But I will give you the details of that in a memo tomorrow. In terms of things at Botel, we came back after the break and it's business as usual. You think we'd never left. Kids are doing what they need to do. Our staff, happy and rested. So we're in a good place, and there really is nothing of import or incredible interest to share with you at this point. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to respond.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mary Beth. The principal's report.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just to let you know, the final numbers of the Pajama Day fundraiser for CCMC, we raised $256.50. Student Council made that their first service project, and the school and community responded in kind. Our goal was $100, so we far exceeded that. And it was a great day in jammies in mid-December. I just want to thank the PTO again for organizing a fantastic holiday fair. The students were so excited to shop again for their loved ones, and it was it was just a smashing success. The town, we had folks from the community donate, families donate, the PTO donated items for sale. And I think after the first day, and we were sold out of quite a few things, and we did another shopping run. So it was just a fantastic event, and one that I'm so glad we could continue. Upcoming in January, each month, as you may know, for one of our school goals, we're focusing on increasing our students and family members' awareness of our acceptance and awareness of folks with different diverse backgrounds. And we've highlighted Hispanic American Month. We've highlighted Disability Awareness Month. We've highlighted Native Americans. And this month we're focusing on Poverty Awareness Month. So throughout this month, our students are going to learn about people struggling with poverty. We're going to connect our One Book, One School initiative to that theme, and we're going to be reading Fly Away Home by Eve Bunting, which is a story about a father and his son who live at the airport because they're homeless. And Student Council meets tomorrow, and we'll focus on that initiative and come up with ideas for how we can support people who are struggling with poverty. On the 14th, we have an early dismissal day for professional learning. And on the 17th, we will have no school in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We again have started the school year the new year extremely smoothly, despite the uptick in COVID cases. We, like Mary Beth said, remain very safe and healthy at Botel, and any positive cases or close contacts we have right now are not connected with a school exposure. And so we are going to keep on keeping on. If anyone has any questions for me about things coming up or currently, please feel free to ask.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Lauren, does anyone have any questions for Lauren or Mary Beth? Okay, let's move on to our standing committee reports.
And could I interrupt for one moment?
Sure.
And since I already did, thank you. I should have mentioned that, I'm sure you are aware that the state has distributed home tests to the towns and to the schools. The school did receive 90 packages of the home tests, and we will be sending out to our families the fact that those things are available and what the parameters are. They are strictly for students and staff who are exhibiting symptoms and who we need to be sure are safe in school. But if you hear that we have them and people ask questions, they're not available for, beyond the immediate student and staff, not to families. And it will help us because the new guidelines do not require testing in many situations where they were previously had much stronger language. They're now recommendations, but there will definitely be times when we want to be absolutely sure that a staff member or a student is negative, and we will now have the tests to provide that opportunity for them. So if there are any questions about that, feel free to give us a call.
Are they going out to home with the students, or are they just staying at the school? Sorry, you said call.
So no, they will remain at the school. If we believe a child should be tested, we will call the parent, let them know that there are two choices. Either we can send the test home with the child and the parent can administer the test, or with parent permission, our school nurse would be able to do the testing. But we are not just going to send them home unless there is an evident need. So if a student were to come in and be exhibiting symptoms, we would send be calling the parent, the child wouldn't be able to stay in school, and the nurse would have a conversation about whether or not it was appropriate to have the child tested at that time, or what the timing would be where it would be appropriate.
But if a
Just received-
student has symptoms at home and the family thinks they may have it, they can't request a test from school. It has to start, or it has to originate in the school, or can we?
No. So if a child is sick and exhibiting symptoms, so for instance, it's cold season. So children have a cold, and you might call and say, my child can't come to school. They have a cold. And at that point, we might not want to test everybody that's got a cough or a sneeze, but if it persists and it looks like it might be something more than just a cold after a day or two, we would certainly provide a test so that the child, as the symptoms improved, as long as we know the student is negative, they could come back to school, as opposed to having to stay out of school until the symptoms totally disappeared. So absolutely, and there will be cases where we can send them home for the student. We just wouldn't be able to send them home to use for siblings or parents or other people who are in the family and, not that direct connection student to school.
So then also, instead of waiting for PCR tests to come back and trying to have to call like Torrington Area Health, you can send a kit home.
Yes.
And if it shows up negative, then
Yes.
the child can come back to school. So you're not waiting 3, 4,
Yes.
5 days. Okay, that's good. That's
Exactly.
The state
I have
cut
a-
way back on the number that they were going to distribute. They were originally going to distribute 3 million, I think, but they cut that back to
Yeah.
400,000 for the entire state. The PCR tests at the moment are taking like 4, 5, 6 days to get
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
But
The
this is
town also received tests, so I'm not sure what the plan is for providing tests to residents, but I know the town did receive a significant number, far less than they were originally allocated, but they are available to the town as well.
Yeah, they did post and say they're not giving it out
You
to the public.
Oh,
you're breaking up, Mary Beth.
that's interesting. Most of the towns have set up a distribution and, limited to 2 boxes or whatever per resident, but I haven't
Right.
heard what Norfolk was doing.
Norfolk will not be distributing them to the general public at the moment. They're keeping them in reserve for first responders and essential workers. And then supposedly the federal government, though, will be distributing some soon. So there will be more available, but at the moment there's not going to be general distribution to everybody.
So if you were a first responder or essential worker, you would just go to the town hall and obtain one?
Right. And I think all of those people who would qualify for that have been told.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Okay. My question, Mary Beth, is in regards to the testing. Being that I do have Parker home with COVID, Belle's obviously home as well. I spoke to the nurse today, and Belle needs to be tested prior to returning to school. But my question to her was, there are no places that will test her because she doesn't have symptoms, and to obtain a test is impossible at this point. And I know she wasn't certain how the tests were working at school. So how does that work if I cannot get her tested to return to school and she's
So we
still
want-
no symptoms?
We want our kids in school. So the way it is now, if she has COVID, she needs to be out the requisite number of days in quarantine. There is an option, let's see, no, there's not an option to test out if you are COVID positive. But in an event where a child needed a test to return to school and you couldn't get one, we would absolutely provide the test. But I'm not sure Belle will need one, because if she's COVID positive, she has to be out for the requisite, what is
But
it,
she's
10
not COVID
or 14
So
positive.
she's not positive, only
She's not.
Parker is.
Oh, then she can definitely, after, the window of time is usually about 5 days.
Yeah, after speaking with Keondra, we believed Saturday she would have to be tested to return to school on Monday. But as I explained to her, just going through the whole process, we were everywhere trying to get her tested, and they won't test her because she's got no symptoms, or home tests are just impossible to come by.
So you would
Um,
qualify for a home test. Belle would
absolutely.
qualify for a home test.
Okay, so, but that's what I'm saying, in
Absolutely. So-
situations like that, would families qualify?
Yes, so
Okay.
stop by the school and we will give you the test.
Okay,
So I think the idea, and we just got a similar letter from regional too, that they're, and if I'm correct, Mary Beth, the state has asked the schools to do it this way, right? To not have them be widely distributed, but to keep them for student focused testing.
Absolutely.
So that, because their goal was to keep as many kids in school as possible.
Yeah.
So I think we should definitely feel like they are available to test our students. And if there's a way that we can give a test so that it gets like Belle back in school faster, or whoever, then that's what they're absolutely used, should
Absolutely.
appropriately be used for.
well, yeah, I said I would do my best to try to obtain a test, but CVS is currently only testing in Paramus, New Jersey for people, so it's quite a drive.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, so it's like, okay. But I know she did say, like, if I couldn't obtain one, we'll figure out, we'll go from there. But okay, well, that's good to know. If I could avoid using a school one, I will.
But, you know,
if
we
I
don't
can
want
find
any
one.
children missing school because they can't get a test. So that's exactly, you know, the priority is keeping kids in school, and that would absolutely qualify as a, you know, legitimate use of sending home a test.
Yeah,
And
I
if we
think you
have-
should plan to use it, Janet. It makes sense to. That's
Well,
what
we
it's
have
you
for.
know,
90
I
of
mean,
them.
if I can get a hold of one myself and do it, I'd not waste the schools. That's fine. I would totally take the option if it was like my last resort and couldn't get a hold of one. But I'll try.
If we have 90 of them, that's more than, you know, one per person, student and staff. So
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that?
No.
Okay, all right, so let's move on to our standing committee reports. Personnel and negotiations. Donna's not here. She chairs that one. Jay, I know that you're a new joiner there. We need to set a date because we have our principal and superintendent contracts coming up to be renewed. I believe they expire in June. Is that right?
Yes.
So we need to start that process. But I'll ask Donna to be in touch with dates that work for her, and then you and I, Jay, can figure out time to start doing that. Our curriculum and technology committee did meet today. And Ginger, would you like to talk about that, or would you like me to talk about it?
I guess I could. It's fine. And because Lauren and Mary Beth are here too, and so are you, so you can always just pop in. So I'm trying to think. We mostly focused on budget requests because the teachers had written reports that are on the agenda. If anybody needs copies of just what the status is of the math and reading programs and everything else. You know, we're halfway through the year, so things are just plugging away. But as far as you know, we're going to start seeing more asks for budget needs. Lauren had asked as an item in the agenda that we purchase at least two. We request, not purchase, but put the request in the budget for 2 Promethean boards. They're like the portable smart boards, like what we use at our board meetings. So instead of being a static smart board that's attached to a wall with a projector, these are much more flexible and can be used throughout the school building and for different kinds of purposes. And we have some really old, sort of old 6-year-old technology, which, as we know now, things age out quickly. And also with backlogs of ordering supplies, it's probably a really good idea to request them because we don't know how long it'll even take to get. So we will be probably asking the budget committee or finance committee to include the request for that. The another budget request for laptops for Lauren and Debbie Talon. They need updated laptops. Other staff already have updated laptops. And then also a curriculum person for, it wasn't math, was it, Anne? I'm sorry.
Language
arts.
Yeah, it was language art. I think a curriculum consultant.
Consultant,
The
yeah.
idea that with a new initiative that's being rolled out for reading, right to read, I think it was called, that there'll be some changes to the curriculum and that we don't want to be beholden to taking just whatever is offered from the state. We have a very specific multi classroom, multi-age classroom model. So we want to customize something that works just right for our kids. Yeah, so it was a good meeting. We talked about everything kind of plugging along, and now that it's budget season, those things that maybe needed to keep supporting our students and our teachers in moving them forward.
Right. And also Lauren mentioned in March, she'll be doing like a state of the school address on what's going on with testing and everything. So we can look forward to that at our meeting here in March.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ginger.
Oh, you're welcome.
Then finance subcommittee. That's one that needs to start meeting again. John, you want to talk about that?
We're awaiting the next year's budget.
Yeah.
So as soon as it's put together, we'll meet with Mary Beth and go over it. And
perfect.
Yep.
To that end, I wanted to talk about our meeting dates for the next couple of months. As what we usually do is, for the new members to know, and as a reminder for anyone else, is we set aside 2 dates, 2 like extra meeting dates in January and February, primarily to deal with the budget, because just that's the timing of it, and that requires a little bit extra work. But now that we have a finance subcommittee, that work can really be done probably in the subcommittee, and we can bring the results of that subcommittee meeting to our regular board meeting. So I wanted to propose that we cancel that second meeting for January and the second meeting for February, and instead, John, suggest if it works for you and whoever else we add to the finance committee, to use those times for the subcommittee, as long as it works out with the timing for the administration too, that they've got the numbers ready.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, since those times are already reserved, if we could just meet as the subcommittee, that'd be great. And
okay.
We're keeping an eye out for someone to fill Gordon's shoes.
Yeah. So the finance committee has been John, Gordon, and me. So without Gordon here, we'll be looking for another member there, so we can choose from among us or with our new candidate. So we should think about that when coming up with folks to fill that vacancy. Okay. Policy. You've had so much to say recently, but I think we're good on policy now, right? No new, or do we still have to vote on something? I lose track.
I think we voted on the policy last meeting.
Yeah, so we're all done, right? We're all up to date.
Right.
And the calendar we voted on.
Yes.
Yeah.
At some point, we were going to continue to talk about the tuition, but
yeah, I wonder if that should. I know that's on our agenda under unfinished business, but I suppose that is a bit of policy. I think that the way for us to move forward on this is we really need to. I wonder if I should even say this, like set up an ad hoc committee maybe, or I don't know. We need to have some information in front of us. So maybe I can start with Mary Beth and Kathy. Would you be willing to make a list of the area schools and their tuition amounts or require, fees, sure. That we can at least then if we kind of have that in front of us, and if you could send it to us, we could even discuss that at a meeting actually with everyone, because it is really an important thing. But I think just starting with some baseline numbers of where everyone else is at would help us a lot. And then maybe as we can have that in the back of our minds as we discuss as a full board how we want the tuition numbers to support our goals. Like if our goals are to get more children into the school or to encourage more participation into our system, then we just have to think about exactly what our goals are and what our, key focus is for that.
So I'm happy to provide that. I will also try to get the cost per pupil that goes along with those towns as well, because they typically go hand in hand. There's usually a relationship between what the town's cost per pupil is and what they set their tuition rate, but I will try to get that as well. In terms of policy, we've just recently revised the tuition policy to allow for staff members to enroll their children at Botel at the same level of tuition that we charge Colebrook for preschool. In the past, Anne, I know you talked about having an ad hoc committee to look into the logistics and viability, and is that something that Botel really wants to do in terms of recruiting tuition paying students? So they're kind of two different things. We have to set a tuition rate, but then you also wanted to look into, as I said, the viability and the benefit of recruiting students to come for the sake of increasing enrollment at Botel.
Yeah, it is really a complicated issue. I mean, at least for Janet and Jay, just to give you a little bit of background of, we've talked about a little bit here. It's complicated because, it's great to have more kids in the school, and it does make your cost per pupil go down, but that doesn't make your budget go down, and it doesn't necessarily, it can sometimes really improve a lot of things to have more people. But it depends. It doesn't always. Sometimes it adds complication, and sometimes it's just tricky. It's just tricky to decide, like, how you want to do it and what the pros and cons are. Let's start with that list. We'll start with that list, and we'll go from there and figure out what we want to take as our next steps.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you. Okay. For
sorry,
health
just a quick. Oh, I'm so
go ahead.
sorry, Anne.
Go ahead.
I know it's like we voted on the calendar last month, but were we still doing the half days time thing? Or I remember that was part of the discussion as to we were going to do the half days or 1:30 dismissals versus if we're going to keep them all half days or
yeah, I think so. Although I don't think that's part of our policy particularly. That is something that the board does vote on every year, though. And I think that we ended up with figuring out that we could dismiss at, was it 1 o'clock each half day?
1:30, but depending on the buses.
And make it work with the buses and with the students. I mean, with the teachers. So
Right.
That we had one dismissal time.
Yeah.
And didn't have to do that back and forth thing, which I do think will be much simpler and much easier for parents. It's just easier when you only have to remember one time.
Right. I wasn't sure if we had tabled that or if it was like a final.
I think that I think we had said that we were willing to do what was best that the administration decided on, and then the administration came back and said we can make it work with the one time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Health and wellness hasn't met. Communications.
Can I interrupt?
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, sure.
As far as policy committee goes, then, should I be calling a meeting in February, or is there nothing? There's just nothing to do right now, so there's no meeting in February that I should organize.
We definitely want to have a meeting, because while we don't have any active policy revision going on right now, every month or so, every other month, we do get packets from CADE with updates on legislation and impact on policy, recommendations for policy revision or for new policy. So I like to run those by our subcommittee and by our board to see, which ones we believe we do need to revisit or begin to develop for policy. So I think to keep the every month standing meeting is a good idea.
So they're roughly organized as bi-monthly, the first Tuesday at 4:30. If that doesn't work for you on a regular basis, Jay, if you want to come up with a different regular schedule, that's certainly no problem. I ask if possible to try to keep to a regular schedule like that, where it's like the second, like the first Tuesday or something like that, just because I think it makes it a little bit easier. But that said, it doesn't always work out that way. Point in case, the communications committee that I chair is a total disaster on that front, but but all the other committees are like totally good at keeping to their schedules. But speaking of the communications committee, I really would like to meet this time on the second Tuesday, which is next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, if that works for Janet and for Ginger. And I thought maybe we could just do it virtually. That's a lot easier for me. And hope that that works for you guys.
Yep. It's in my calendar. Also, just to let Jay and Janet know, there is a Board of Ed committee's calendar, a Google Calendar that you could subscribe to, and it automatically like populates your phone calendar so that you know when all the meetings are. You don't have to add it.
How did you get it on your phone? Sorry.
Yeah, I will. I don't remember how.
I think you can send a link.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll log into it and I'm gonna write myself.
It's on the Botel School
Website.
It's not, no, because it's a Board of Ed committee's calendar. So it's not the PTO like school calendar.
Mm.
But yeah, either Ann or I can
we can share the calendar
Sorry,
with
sorry.
you, and then you can like click on it and ask it to add it to your calendar, and then it'll come up.
right.
Okay.
It's really helpful.
Yeah.
It reminds me all the times I'm supposed to have the communications meeting that I don't do it properly.
And it always
But it's a
says
new year,
tentative.
and I'm going to. It always says tentative, and
Yeah.
we're gonna communicate every other month at 6
Maybe-
o'clock.
Yeah, we'll take
Tuesday.
off the tentative and just have it.
Right? That's what it is. The tentative. That's what it is. That's the problem. Okay. Shared services, PTO. For the PTO, I just wanted to report, as Lauren said, that the holiday fair really was great. It's always great. Thank you so very much to everyone who donated to it this year. There were really so many wonderful donations from everyone, from the community, from the staff, from the families. It was really very nice, and it's very nice. It's just a nice thing in every way. So really feel so pleased that happens and to get to be a part of it. Let's see, school safety and security committee. I don't think, oh no, met in December.
Yeah.
John,
Yes.
was there anything to report on that?
Not much. I mean, it was pretty straightforward, just going over all the drills and everything, and the safety policies that all the staff are kept current on through Mr. Byrne. We talked about some of the camera upgrades that need to happen, and we've switched over to Berkshire
Security system,
Alarm
Six-
system?
alarm.
alarm system for the fire alarm and security alarms. We also had an extensive discussion about the Connecticut State Fire Prevention Code, which will continue.
Is that the one that determines how much stuff you can put on, how much paper you can put on the walls?
Yes.
That's the one I'm really interested in, just in case anybody didn't know. Did we ever determine if that was the right place to talk about more lighting on the playground?
It is. It came up, and I'm trying to remember what we had talked about putting more out. But I'm not sure
I
where
would think
that-
it'd be great to have more lighting for a couple of reasons. Well, to make it safer in general, because there's really not a lot of light on that playground at night. But people do go there at night.
Right.
I just say like it would be safer. And also more light on our slide
On the
that will soon
slide.
be fixed.
Yep.
Would be really, really good. But so when you meet in February, maybe if you could think about that one, that I think would be good. Maybe with that recommendation, the town would be more inclined to help us get that put in place.
Right. And that makes an excellent segue into what the Board of Finance discussed at their last meeting, which was about the funding that we will be getting for the slide. They just had to figure out how to word it and present the case for the slide project to be for the grant to be applicable to the slide as a town
Excellent.
Do you know
asset.
the name of what agency needs to have that? Who do they have to report that to? Do you know? And I wonder if there's a way. I'd be very happy to help wordsmith that in a way that makes it fit into the grant, if that's helpful.
I think, I mean, it's the federal government. I can't remember if is it FEMA?
I thought that the town received the money already, but I don't know. Maybe at the end of the year they have to send in a report saying how they spent it. I just don't quite know how what kind of reporting happens, and if they need.
I don't think
I just don't want that to be a barrier.
Right. I don't think it didn't sound like it was a barrier. They just needed to see what other towns are doing, how they're phrasing their expenditures to make sure that they qualify for the money.
Okay.
It didn't sound like it would be difficult, and I mean, I can let Matt know that if they have any questions, to feel free to ask us.
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about from the Board of Finance perspective?
That was the only thing they discussed about that was relevant to the school.
They haven't given any time frames yet for when they would like to see our budget back, have they?
No, it has not come up.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then Ginger, was there anything on the BAG subcommittee that you'd like to mention?
No, John and I went over that last time and we haven't met since, but we're
Okay.
putting things into place. So we will follow through with them in the next
Okay.
bit.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Well, as we are at the end of our list there, and I'm talking about ad hoc committees, I want to propose a new one. A while back, and several times actually, I think over the last several years, we've had people raise concerns, parents raise concerns about the way that the awards are given in our promotion ceremony. And I know that this has been a concern for the administration for some time now too. And just so everybody's kind of on the same page, there are quite a few awards that are given for the sixth grade promotion that have like historical or historic or community based reasoning. But as our classes get smaller, it's complicated to give awards to such a small group of kids and who all work so closely together, and it just is not always the most lovely and appropriate thing to have happen there. So there's been thoughts about how to change this kind of way that this happens. And what I would really like to do is to put together an ad hoc committee that can look at all the awards that are given at the end of the year, from these historical ones to sports to participation to all of those, and figure out ways that we can give those out. One of the ideas has been to do a lot of the participation awards, the things that like most people get, like if you're in band, everybody gets an award, or if you have participated in, I don't know, chorus, then like all those folks, like those seem like they might be appropriate for like a school assembly where the whole school is there, but maybe not at the promotion ceremony where they'll take a lot of time. Another idea has been to have some awards given at our Board of Ed meetings, like which we have done traditionally for the Superintendent's Award. I feel like that's a really great place for kids to get some special recognition, special attention, and for their parents to really celebrate something. But I think we need a little group to get together and look at all the awards and kind of parcel them out for what makes sense in what place, and like who is impacted by them. You know, is it something that it's time to retire, or, you know, is there something that we want to add, that kind of thing. So I would really love to put that together, to have a committee that would just meet for a short time. I mean, it would just be now, because we'd have to start putting it in place in like the April, May, June timeframe. And I wanted to hear if anybody might be interested in serving on that.
I definitely would be. I have a lot of experience from last year, and Lauren too, of having, 11 kids and 20 awards. So, yeah, and I've had discussions. I'm interested in just helping to update it. Awards are awesome and they're great and they make students feel special. But I also feel like recognizing, some of the awards, like, my niece or my son got, they knew, oh, I got $25 or something, and they didn't know what it was for or why it was important. So maybe giving a little bit more recognition to those kinds of awards, like at either board meetings or school at good news gatherings might be good as well.
Yeah. So I think that the goal of this committee would be to figure out ways to really celebrate those awards, make them meaningful, but also make it work in all the right spaces, make it a good reflection of what we want our student body to walk away with, what we want the message to be. I think it'd be great too to have a community member or two, a parent or two. So I may ask Marinelle Crippen, who at the beginning of the year came to me and very specifically asked about this particular issue, and who I know has been trying to get to meetings along the, as this year has progressed. May ask her to join that as well. But okay, well, great. Thank you.
Can we ask Melissa Aslin too? I mean, I know she's not on the board, but she has a lot of experience with
how it impacts the kids. That's be something she would know a lot about, and also what the awards are. Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch with you about that, Ginger and Lauren and Mary Beth. And we'll kind of go from there. And then we'll kind of come up with a plan and we'll bring it back to the board for everybody to weigh in on, and then we can move forward from there. Okay. Anything else in my notes here?
No, but we're 2 minutes to 7. We've almost made it just under an hour.
Right. All right. Well, so we have made it all the way through our agenda, and we're now at item 12, which is adjournment. If anyone would like to make a motion.
I can make an emotion. I saw your face, Ginger.
No, I just thought John was going to shoot in there. That's why I didn't say anything. John's so quick.
And Jay seconded, I think. Yes. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a very nice
Thank
night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good night and Happy New Year, everybody.